What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Down Once More. I'm your host, Matt, and I'm going to be completely honest. I'm riding the struggle bus today. It is Tuesday, November 4th at like 5:30 at night. As I'm recording this episode is set to drop on audio platforms at midnight tonight and 6 a.m. on the 5th. So I'm doing great. I'm ahead of schedule. I've way planned ahead. I'm prepared for this. Um, as a 33-year-old, I went to three concerts last week, one on Sunday night, one on Tuesday night, and one on Friday night. So that's two concerts on work nights that both started at 8 p.m. And as a man in his 30s, um, I'm not built for that anymore. And alongside that, if you can't tell, I'm going to fight through it to make through this an enjoyable listening experience for you all, since you're tuning in and spending your limited free time to watch or listen to the pod. Um, I have been mouth breathing the past 3 days because I don't know if it's allergies, head cold, but I am fighting here for my life. But I'm gonna do a little concert talk because I went to three very different concerts last week, as I mentioned, and then we're gonna go through the usual first episode of the month rundown, which is talking what's coming to streaming, what's coming to theaters, kind of what I'm most excited about for the month on each of the different platforms. So, as always, time codes down below. So if you're like, you know what, I don't have Paramount Plus, so I don't really give a shit what's on that network, feel free to skip that one, your prerogative. But maybe, just maybe, you'll listen. You're like, you know what? I had no idea that they had those wonderful options available there, and I want to give them my money. Now, that's your choice. I am giving every single one of these streaming platforms my money because I am a sucker and I have bad FOMO. So, if you're watching on YouTube, you may have noticed behind me, I have nice, wonderful displays for some of my playbills now. I can't figure out which direction to turn my head. 8 of them on display. That will probably rotate as it goes. Right now, I have Dear Evan Hansen, Hamilton, Beetlejuice, Jesus Christ Superstar, uh, Mean Girls, Moulin Rouge, Shrek, and Back to the Future. My Wicked playbill is in rough shape, so that's why that one is not up there. Otherwise, that would have bumped out probably Back to the Future or Mean Girls. So those are my 8 favorite live shows that I have seen, and so playbills are up there. This corner, I'm bad with directions because mirrored, is cluttered. So changes coming to the podcast scenery. If you're watching on YouTube soon, this has been your decorating minute with Matt. Now, concerts. First one I went to was T-Pain on his 20th anniversary tour. Um, the supporting acts, the only one announced was Earth Gang. That was on the billing. But the main opener, the first opener, was Asaka the Renegade, who I actually really enjoyed and thought he kicked off the show with a lot of good energy. Then it was Armani White, who I knew the song Billie Eilish, otherwise was not aware of Armani White. Absolutely loved Armani White's stage presence. He brought out an Ed Sheeran doppelganger that most people, including me, were like, a lot of people were losing their minds, and I was questioning, I'm like, there's no way that's actually Ed Sheeran. But from what I've heard, he's been an interesting dude, so that could be something. It was the final show of the tour. Maybe Armani White has a new album coming out. Billie Eilish had brought Armani White on stage, so Armani White's kind of taken off and blowing up. Maybe it was Ed Sheeran. It wasn't. Doppelganger. A lot of people thought it was, and I kept going back and forth because they showed him on the camera. He looked very, very much like Ed Sheeran, but Armani White, ton of great energy opening the show. Earth Gang, again, I was not as familiar with them, but they had a lot of good energy. And then T-Pain came out and just put on an amazing, amazing show for about a little over an hour and a half. Fun set, great choreography, great energy, great mixes of his hits and his verses from other people's hits. He was funny as fuck when he was talking. That place, everyone was on their feet the entire time he was out there. Those stands were shaking. He's in a big arena. They only did the lower bowl, but everyone around me was dancing around, and it was a fantastic time. Awesome energy to kick off the week, because it didn't end until after 11, and I had to get up at 5 the next day for work. Um, that's the problem with being an adult and going to these shows. But it was so nostalgic for me, because a T-Pain song will come up on a playlist every now and then, but that was like high school and some of college for me. It was just like the T-Pain era. And so getting to hear those hits live and the energy, it was so much fun. And he has such an amazing stage presence and just a voice in general. And a lot of people kind of saw that when he started to make his kind of comeback when he was on The Masked Singer. And then he released his covers album shortly after that, that didn't have as much auto tune in it. And he's such just a talented performer. Highly recommend it if you have the opportunity to see T Pain, that you go and do that. Then I got through a day of work, got through another day of work, and it was time for Maroon 5. Now, Maroon 5 was the concert of the week that I was probably least excited for. Uh, I, of course, know Maroon 5's hits. I listen to them every once in a while. And there were some that are nostalgic for me, their time on the radio. Like Payphone is probably actually one of my favorite, which I know is sacrilegious, but like She Will Be Loved is another favorite. From that like Songs About Jane album I really enjoyed. And so this is more my wife, big Maroon 5 fan. We had tickets to see him a while back, and then that show ended up getting canceled years ago. Maroon 5's guitarist James Valentine from Lincoln, so that was cool to see a little bit of a homecoming from him. But the opener was Claire Rosencrantz, not my style of music. She did a good job. Her dad is her bass player in the band, and he was getting very into the song about her kissing all up and down this dude. That was the song he jammed out to the most, which was a little weird vibes, but hey, to each their own. And if you're a musician and you're feeling the music and you're on stage opening up for Maroon 5, Claire Rosencrantz is 21. Maroon 5 has been a band for 24 years. They have been a band longer than she has been alive. So it's an interesting opener, different genre, different vibe out there, a lot more intimate feeling than Maroon 5, who came out and you could tell that it is a production. You can tell they've been doing it for 24 years. They had the video boards just cutting different angles from overhead views of the drums, Adam Levine walking down the ramp, and they had like a pathway, like a runway going out from it, and just everything was in tune, and it was a production. But the crowd was standing up, they were enjoying it, having a great time, but it felt like an arena tour more than any of the other shows I went to this week. I've talked about on here before, I tend to prefer the more intimate, smaller venue shows. It's just my preference. I like where you can really feel like you're feeding off the energy of the performers. Um, and they feel like they're wanting to take you along for the ride. Maroon 5, they sounded great. And like I said, they put on a show, but I didn't feel myself getting sucked into it as much. Like, I talked about the T-Pain one. The openers were bands I didn't know as much, an artist I didn't know as much, but their energy got me sucked in and got me bought in and hyped up for the show. Um, Maroon 5, I enjoyed hearing the hits and the classics, but it didn't elevate the music to me, if that makes sense, where T-Pain, the performance really added another layer and just let me like, I felt energized leaving it. I didn't feel that leaving Maroon 5. Maroon 5 also did Encore, and they were gone for probably about 5 minutes, which I get that's what you're kind of inviting with shows, but I'll talk about it in a little bit. Um, the encore I feel like it's gotten so far away from what it originally was, when everyone is just loving the band so much and wants one more song, wants them to keep going, where now it's something they script into their set. They save Most of the time, they save some of their biggest hits until the encore portion. So it's expected, they're going to come out here. So you're getting lackluster cheers from the crowd. They don't know, is it over? Is it not? Are they going to play more? Are they not? I don't know. I don't love the whole encore thing unless it's like the true encore. Otherwise, just make it part of your set and let everyone go away without chanting for you for 5 minutes, wondering when you're going to come out. But still a great show. Did not feel as worth it as T-Pain did the next day. Next day I was struggling. I was on the struggle bus then too. Then Friday comes around, Halloween. It is time for the show that I was probably most excited for, and that was Yellow Card and A Day to Remember, kind of their co-headlining tour with the Wonder Years as an opener, as well as Dinosaur Pile Up. It was supposed to be the first opener. Dinosaur Pile Up. The show was supposed to start at 6:15, so the only reasonable start time out of all the ones of the week for me, who's an old man at heart. But uh, Wonder Years didn't come on until about 6:45, so about half an hour later. But it was this. The only lower bowl was open. Not even half the lower bowl was sold out. The floor was packed, which was awesome. But closer, lower, which is great. And where it was Halloween, I was able to people watch, which made it a lot more entertaining. Some of the best costumes I saw a guy dressed as Princess Peach, and his girlfriend or wife was Bowser. That was entertaining. There were 70s like aerobics jazzercise outfits. I saw Lord of the Rings outfits. I saw some tongue-in-cheek ones. A lot of fun. Just people going all out. It's Halloween, having a good time at a rock show. But Wonder Years came out. They said they were playing a little bit of an extended set. Dinosaur Pile Up having visa issues, getting their visas, so they weren't there. So Wonder Years was able to throw some extra songs in there, which I was excited about. Pile Up, I don't really know. The Wonder Years, I really enjoy. Came out swinging and Low Tide, great songs I absolutely love. And I loved every song in their set list, honestly. Just great energy to start that show. And then Yellow Card came out, and that's another one that's nostalgia for me, throwback with like Ocean Avenue. And then their newer album, Honestly I, is a great song off of it, Better Days, which I think released just like a month ago. But they came out, they had an amazing set, kind of throwback nostalgia theme with like VHSs, kind of in the Better Days theme of their newest album. But they came out playing the Top Gun theme. Interludes between each songs. They had like snippets from classic movies like Back to the Future, E.T., things like that. It was so much fun, and they brought such a great energy. I really enjoyed it. And then Yellow Card is kind of interesting thrown in there because the headliner is A Day to Remember. It's their tour from their ol' album, Volume 1, they released last year. It's called their Maximum Fun Tour with them and Yellow Card. And then there's been different legs and supporting acts. 4 Years Strong and State Champs, I think, were the ones in the first leg. And then this one's the Wonder Years and Dinosaur Pile Up. But Day to Remember, I've seen before. Last time I saw them was at an outdoor venue. And it was just so much fun because A Day to Remember, also very nostalgic for me. That little, I don't even know what you call it. Punk rock, metal, a little bit of screamo, rock, I don't know. Genres just mess me up. But they're just, got some screaming. They're a little bit more hardcore. I like there were mosh pits like crazy, and having people crowd surf. The atmosphere was amazing. I thought it was better than when I saw them live at the outdoor arena back in, it was 2019. I just looked it up recently, so about 6 years ago. But man, they just know how to fire up a crowd. Their guitarist was dressed as a minion. Other guitarist dressed as a Ghostbuster. Drummer was dressed as Freddie Mercury. They just had such a great stage presence and know how to get the crowd hyped. And I loved their entire set list. There were no misses. Even the stuff off their newer albums, They had curated just a near perfect set list where I had a smile on my face the entire time. The energy was amazing. And then they said, because they said, okay, this is usually the part where we would leave, go backstage, wait a few minutes, and come back out. Do any of you actually like when bands do that? And people are like, no. And they're like, neither do we. It's fucking annoying. That's why we're just going to stay out here and we're going to play three more songs for you. Is that okay? And crowd went wild because I think that's how it should be. Bowling for Soup does something similar. They're like, hey, we're old, we're fat now. We're not gonna waste energy walking off stage. We're just gonna stand here and wait. You can take a photo op and take some photos, and then we'll go back. And it's fun, and I like when bands do that because it was awkward at the All Time Low and Mayday Parade one. All Time Low's kind of built in encore. Their video board had the message "We'll be right back" because they're like kind of talk show themed. And so if you don't know what you're getting into from the beginning, you're like, okay, they had done that earlier in the show, and it was just when they left for a little bit of a like an interlude, a break, did a wardrobe change, came back. It's about a minute or so, but it was very awkward because the sign said "We'll be right back." People didn't start like cheering one more song or anything like that for them to come back out, and it was just an extended period of time. It probably felt longer than it was, but felt like it was like 5 minutes, and then they came back out. But it was like, I'm like, is no one gonna cheer? I was trying to a little bit. Not many other people were getting into it. It was awkward. So do away with encores unless it's true. Like we've played our entire set. You love us that much. You want us to come out for more. Then fuck yeah, we're gonna do it. So that's my take on my week of concerts. I was around thousands of people, so I'm glad that I'm just coming around with whatever sinus bullshit I got going on. But that was concert talk. Drop in the comments what the best concert you've ever been to was, and who is an artist that most surprised you at a concert. I want to see that in the comments. So I want some recommendations for some upcoming shows I should travel for. So drop it in the comments. All right, let's get into our what to watch. As always, we'll start out with Netflix. They've got some already published things dropping on that dropped on November 1st. So Wonka, the Timothy Chalamet starring kind of prequel about Willy Wonka the musical. Doctor Sleep, the Stephen King adaptation. Ready Player One, fun sci-fi novel adaptation. Don't Worry, Darling. Harry Styles, Florence Pugh, the Elvis. Biopic from blanking on his name, Baz Luhrmann, Dream Girls, Game Night, just an amazing comedy. If you haven't seen Game Night, Jesse Plemons, I'm blanking on other people's names right now. It's head cold. I told you it's game to you or whatever. But Game Night, watch. It's the guy from Ozark and Arrested Development, Jason Bateman, that guy. Um, the Ace Ventura series, Baby Driver, the entire Back to the Future series, the Hangover series, the original I Know What You Did Last Summer, In the Heights, which we've reviewed on here. One of my favorite Lin-Manuel Miranda works. Anthony Ramos is fantastic in it. Judas and the Black Messiah, just a fantastic true story. Fantastic performances on that one. The Patriot, Tenet, and This Is the End, if you want a fun kind of mindless comedy. On November 4th, the Minx series comes to Netflix. The series originally started out on HBO Max. They canceled it after one season and went over to, I believe, Showtime. Now it's making its Netflix debut. Jake Johnson's great in it. Good series. On November 6th, a new Netflix original miniseries, a 4-part limited series called Death by Lightning. It's about James Garfield and Charles Guiteau, who is the person who assassinated James Garfield. Michael Shannon plays James Garfield. Matthew McFadden from Succession plays Charles Guiteau. So I'm excited for this limited series. It's something I don't know much about historically, so I'm excited to learn from this probably kind of fictionalized limited series on Netflix. On November 7th, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein movie comes out on Netflix. It had a limited release in theaters at the end of October. It's making its Netflix debut. I've seen mixed things about it. I'm excited for it. Jacob Elordi plays Frankenstein's monster, and has a unique look that kind of looks like, oh, what were they called? The engineers from Alien Covenant or the prequel series. Prometheus is the one that I was looking for. The classic Labyrinth also comes out November 7th. And then November 12th, the first Netflix original Christmas movie. We're getting into the holiday and Christmas movie time where the cheesy Hallmark era movies drop on different streaming services. And this first one is A Merry Little Xmas. It's with Alicia Silverstone, Oliver Hudson, and Jamila Jamil. It looks entertaining enough if you want a cheesy holiday movie. On November 13th, the series that I'm most excited for, a new one with Claire Danes and Matthew Rice, The Beast in Me, comes out to Netflix, as well as Baz Luhrmann's Moulin Rouge and The Sandlot. On November 17th, the DC movie Blue Beetle comes out, as well as Zodiac, kind of a chilling true story based on the Zodiac novel about the Zodiac killer and how Robert Grayson or Graysmith, who worked for the newspaper, kind of got involved in kind of cracking the Zodiac's code. Robert Downey Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal, great cast, great movie from David Fincher. On November 19th, new holiday romance movie, Champagne Problems. Minka Kelly stars as someone from an investment firm that goes to Paris to buy a vineyard. Romance, hijinks ensue. Flula Borg is also in it. On November 21st, Ed Sheeran's Concert Through New York City one shot that was filmed drops. So kind of part of the promotion for his new album Play. I'm excited to see this. I like live concert films. I feel like, especially if they're a unique take on it, like this, following Ed Sheeran playing through New York City, playing on Subway, things like that, will be a lot of fun. And then on November 21st, Joel Egerton starring movie Train Dreams, which is based on the Dennis Johnson novel. It looks like a very beautiful, kind of nostalgic, almost Western drama of time gone past, of kind of cutting down, logging, tearing down trees, building the railroad. It looks like it will be a very emotional movie, but beautiful shot, maybe a little bit slower, but Joel Egerton is a fantastic actor. I'm excited to check this out. On November 26th, the first part of the final season of Stranger Things premieres at 5 p.m. So it's dropping there. The final season, each episode's about an hour and a half long. You're looking at a whole bunch of mini movies. There's now all sorts of reports of Millie Bobby Brown supposedly filing claims of David Harbour bullying her. That was put out and that now is hitting the news that prior to the filming of this final season, she'd been reporting bullying. I don't know. There are all sorts of crazy stuff going on around David Harbour right now. But also, I am so far behind Stranger Things. My plan was to start a rewatch. Like, I've only watched through season 2. My plan was to do a rewatch so that I could then binge it. They're releasing the final season in 3 parts. On the 26th, part 1. The second part series is right around Christmas, and then New Year's Eve, I believe, is when the final episode drops. But there's also a fun new holiday Christmas movie that looks like a good time, Jingle Bell Heist, that drops on the 26th. So that's what's coming to Netflix. Let's hop on over to Apple TV. They dropped the Plus now. It's just Apple TV. Just a couple things. A new series from Vince Gilligan, who created Breaking Bad, Pluribus, comes out. Looks very interesting, almost sci-fi-esque, kind of futuristic. Seems like everyone else is happy and groupthink and everyone's fine. And there's one woman who can't get with the program and is just upset, depressed, and hates this life and this world and this existence. So it looks like intriguing, completely different vibe from other Vince Gilligan shows. So excited to check that out. And then on November 21st, the Mark Wahlberg starring The Family Plan 2 comes out. Sequel to, I believe, 2021, 22 is when the first Family Plan came out. So that is dropping if that's your jam. Mark Wahlberg, former covert operative spy, now has a family, traveling. This one stars Kit Harington as well. Looks fun enough for a kind of family action movie. All right, let's jump on over to Amazon Prime Video. A few classic releases on November 1st, so that are out now that you can watch. Beautiful Mind, great movie with Russell Crowe. Agent Cody Banks, 1 and 2. Those are nostalgic for me. Um, but Chicago in the musical world, if you want to check that out. The 1988 original Child's Play movie and the 2019 remake. Happy Gilmore, the Hot Tub Time Machine movies. Miracle on 34th Street, if you want your heartwarming Christmas movies. This was the classic Alfred Hitchcock Rear Window. And then Bill Murray starring Scrooged, Uncle Buck, a good just in time for Thanksgiving, Spider Man Homecoming, and The Breakup with Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn. On November 9th, the 2017 Baywatch movie with The Rock and Zac Efron comes up. I had fun with this movie, not for everyone. And then a new Amazon original, Playdate, that stars Alan Richson and Kevin James. Alan Richson, like, has a spy, different things going on. He's playing with the kid. Kevin James has a kid. They decide to have a play date together, and then people come out trying to kill Alan Richson. Check out the trailer. Looks fun. Looks entertaining. Some good action. I'm a big Alan Richson fan. I think he was fantastic in the Reacher series. He was a lot of fun back in Blue Mountain State. He was good in the small role he had in the Titans, the short-lived Titans series about grown-up Teen Titans that I really enjoyed. So that's coming out then. On November 14th, what I'm most excited about on Amazon Prime, a new miniseries with David Duchovny and Jack Whitehall, Malice. It looks like a great psychological thriller and kind of mystery a little bit. I'm excited to check that out. And then Drop. I enjoyed this movie from last year. Actually, I think it was earlier this year. It was on Peacock for a while. Making the transition to Prime Video. Recommend checking it out if you hadn't. It's a good thriller. On November 15th, jumping back to the musical vein, we got Mamma Mia. And on November 19th, The Iron Claw, the true story of the Von Erich wrestling family. Highly recommend it. It is a very sad movie. You will most likely cry, but some absolutely amazing performances from it. Zac Efron does maybe his best work in a movie in this. So highly recommend checking that out. And then on November 26th, the Robert Pattinson movie from Bong Joon-ho, Mickey 17, comes to Amazon Prime. Let's hop on over to HBO Max. On November 1st, we got a nice little holiday drop with Elf and Four Christmases, two of my favorite Christmas movies. And then you have the 2004 Hellboy movie from Guillermo del Toro. You have Kingsman: The Golden Circle, which was the lesser of the Kingsman movies, but still a good time. You have National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, if you want a classic nostalgia that I'm gonna get some hate for this. I watched it for the first time when I was about 28. I didn't get it. It's had some entertaining moments, but I think it was one of those that was just way overhyped for me. And I'm like, it was fine. It was fine. We got Puss in Boots, if you want some animated gold. By all accounts, a fantastic movie that has been on my list multiple times that just keeps getting bumped down. Maybe I'll finally actually show up and watch it. And The Town. And then on November 2nd, so this past weekend, I Love LA, Rachel Sennett, and new series on HBO Max, kind of a spiritual successor. People are comparing it to a new modern Sex and the City. Rachel Sennett, Josh Hutcherson. The first episode's getting great reviews. Look at that on Sunday nights for the rest of the month and into some of December. A movie that looks a heart-wrenching romance, Past Lives, and then Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. What kicked off the new modern Planet of the Apes movies. I really enjoyed it, loved it. If you haven't checked it out, this is your opportunity to do so. On November 7th, so the end of this week, Materialist drops. Dakota Johnson, Pedro Pascal, Chris Evans. Mixed reviews on this one. I was excited to check it out and watch it, so I'm glad it's coming out to streaming. On November 14th, Eddington dropped, the kind of COVID drama with Pedro Pascal. A very polarizing movie. I've seen people jump back and forth on their feelings towards it. I'll be checking it out. It's been a while, but I will be checking it out. I've been wanting to see it, and this is the excuse I need. Also, a new documentary, One to One, John and Yoko, that follows John Lennon and Yoko Ono on their first year in NYC. November 26th, the Mark Wahlberg starring movie Flight Risk comes out. So that's one that just looks like a mindless action movie. Turn your brain off, have a good time with it. So I'll be checking that out for sure. Now, let's jump on over to Hulu and Disney Plus. They have done everything they can to basically make sure those streaming services are one. So we're going to cover them as one. On November 1st, The Color Purple, the musical release, the 2023 movie. On A Knight's Tale, it came out, a classic movie that holds a special place in my heart. Deck the Halls, Jingle All the Way. Jingle All the Way is it's very cheesy. It's not great, but Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sinbad, great holiday movie, very nostalgic for me. The Last Duel, Love Actually, Miracle on 34th Street's on here as well. Neighbors, The Princess Bride, and The Sound of Music. Musicals it is. On November 4th, a new series, Hulu original, All's Fair. It has Kim Kardashian, Naomi Watts, and Nyson Ash Betts, as well as Sarah Paulson. It's about women that run a divorce firm. And some drama going on there. It's from creator Ryan Murphy, so it's going to have that Ryan Murphy vibe to it. But if that's your thing, you can check that out. Starting, this is the 5th. This episode came out yesterday on the 4th. Today on the 5th, Fantastic Four First Steps makes his Disney Plus premiere. And then on the 7th, over on Hulu, you can see Sovereign, the Nick Offerman and Jacob Tremblay movie, inspired by true events. Just kind of a psychological drama about these people who believe in the sovereign state and kind of anti-cop, anti-government, and just kind of that kind of indoctrination. It looks very intense, a very different role for Nick Offerman than we've seen, and Jacob Tremblay as well, who started out as a child actor and just won awards for his performance in Room with Brie Larson, and now in this completely different role. It looks very intense, and I've been wanting to check this one out for a while. We're on Disney Plus. Fire and Water, the making of the Avatar films from James Cameron, comes out in anticipation of the next Avatar movie coming out in December. On November 8th, A Star is Born, the version with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, comes to Hulu. And then on November 10th, you have Don't Breathe 2, a good thriller movie. Very interesting take and departure, very different from the first Don't Breathe. Not as good as it, but a good action thriller, still in its own right. On November 11th, The Book of Clarence drops. I really enjoyed The Book of Clarence. It's very unique and different. On November 13th, Season 3 of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives drops. And on the 14th, the Sony movie, Madam Web, with Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, just not a good movie, but good when paired with the How Did This Get Made episode. So there's my plug for that. As well as a very Jonas Christmas movie, which is the Jonas Brothers. It actually looks fun. And it looks like you'll have some original music from the Jonas Brothers in it. Just some ridiculousness. A fun holiday movie. So maybe we'll talk about that on the pod once it comes out. And over back on Hulu on November 15th, the first Don't Breathe comes out. So check that out. Wait a few days. Don't watch Don't Breathe 2 and then go back. Watch the first Don't Breathe, then go watch Don't Breathe 2. Make up your own opinions. Tell us what you think in the comments. Let's hop on over to Peacock. They had a lot drop on November 1st, including Fast and Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, Fast and Furious, Fast 5, Bad Moms, Bring It On, Dunkirk, Girls Trip, The Greatest Showman, and Les Mis for you musical fans out there. Straight Outta Compton, one of my favorite musical biopics. Just absolutely well done movie. Love Actually, the entire Men in Black series. Now You See Me 1 and 2. Role Models, one of my all-time favorite comedy movies, and The Rundown, a fun Sean William Scott and Dwayne The Rock Johnson action comedy. On November 6th, the new series with Sarah Snook from Succession, All Her Fault, comes out. This looks like a very intense and intriguing drama, thriller, mystery about a missing child. And so I'm really excited to check this out. On November 6th, so this weekend over on, Thursday night on NBC, Wicked One Wonderful Night premieres, the kind of concert with Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo, and other stars of the movie singing and performing the music of Wicked. And so that drops on Peacock the following day on the 7th. On November 13th, a new kind of reality series, Tiffany Haddish Takes Off. It follows Tiffany Haddish and some of her friends going on a trip across Africa together. It looks very dramatic. You'll get some of the classic Tiffany Haddish comedy. I find her hilarious, so that could be your thing, but it looks like it's a lot more about their relationship as friends and real life drama that they're going through. So a different idea, different take. Intrigued by that. On November 17th, the entire Good Place series drops. Kristen Bell, Jamila Jamil, Ted Danson. I enjoyed The Good Place when it aired. I have not revisited it, though. Maybe now is a good time to. On November 20th, the entire Expendables series. Just some talked about it with Flight Risk. The Expendables are some definite turn off your brain and just enjoy some over-the-top, ridiculous action with stars from yesteryear and modern just mixed together. A lot of fun. And then on November 24th, season 4, which is the final season of the kind of modern, gritty reboot of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, comes out on Peacock. Let's jump over to Paramount Plus, final streaming site that we'll cover. So on November 1st, they had the new Orlando Bloom psychological thriller, The Cut, premiered, as well as 21 Jump Street, All I Want for Christmas, Big Daddy, the Bridget Jones series, Catch Me If You Can, Deck the Halls, Dreamgirls, if you're in a musical vibe, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, the G.I. Joe series, which is dumb turn your brain off action. There's not much redeeming things in there, but there are one or two cool action set pieces in each of those movies. Geostorm, another fun one to pair with How Did This Get Made episode. Geostorm has some deep How Did This Get Made lore in it, so check that out. Get Rich or Die Trying, 50 Cent. I Love You Man, one of my favorite Jason Segel and Paul Rudd comedies. The entire Indiana Jones movie series. Joe Dirt. Mouse Hunt with Nathan Lane. That was one that I watched that at a very young age, and some parts of that still just stick with me and freak me out. But it's fun. It's fun, kind of mindless, stupid action, slapstick comedy brings me back. Like, I feel like those movies don't get made as much anymore. I had a lot of fun with it. Old School, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, another Thanksgiving movie for you. Pretty in Pink, Saving Private Ryan, Scrooged, also coming to Paramount Plus. Shooter, Starship Troopers, the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie series. So you can see Vanilla Ice singing the Ninja Rap. The Godfather series, The Usual Suspects, Kevin Spacey, bad guy by all accounts, purposes. Do I have to throw allegedly? I don't remember if he was found guilty or not. But Usual Suspects is a great movie. There Will Be Blood, Titanic, James Cameron classic, and Tommy Boy. You can't go wrong with David Spade and Chris Farley and Tommy Boy. On November 16th, the Tommy Lee Jones series Landman Season 2 premieres. On November 21st, the fantastic Elton John biopic Rocket Man comes out with Taron Egerton. I absolutely love that. Taron Egerton does a fantastic job in that movie. And then on November 25th, The Road. Viggo Mortensen, Cody Smith McPhee is the adaptation of the Cormac McCarthy novel. Just a very bleak movie. But a very kind of important novel and a well done movie. Let's close out the episode with what's new and coming to theaters this month. This weekend on November 7th, we have Predator Badlands, which I'm excited about. I'm a little less excited because it's just PG-13 instead of R, but I loved Prey. I thought the Predator Hunter of Hunters or Killer of Killers, whatever it's called, the animated movie, I thought that was really well done. So I'm excited for Predator Badlands. I think we're in kind of a resurgence of those movies. I think it should be a lot of fun. As well as also on the 7th, Die My Love, which is Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson thriller. Looks unique. It's more of an indie film, but intrigued by this one. And then also Christy, the Sydney Sweeney starring biopic of boxer Christy Martin and her life. Then next week on the 14th, the remake adaptation of Stephen King's novella The Running Man, starring Glenn Powell, comes out. Keeper, which is the new Osgood Perkins horror psychological thriller with Tatiana Maslany. And then Now You See Me, Now You Don't. The third movie in the Now You See Me series. It's been 9 years since Now You See Me 2 came out. So it's been a hot minute. It's where a new generation of magicians meets up with the Horsemen and on a new mission. And so I'm intrigued. The Now You See Me movies, while they're not the best movies ever, they're a lot of fun. I had a good time with them. I do think there was a steep drop off from 1 to 2, by the way. On November 21st, Rental Family. This movie looks intriguing. Brendan Fraser plays an American actor who is in Tokyo, and his job, he ends up getting into a gig where he plays roles in people's real lives, and he gets cast in a role to play this little girl's kind of absentee father. And it looks very heartwarming. It looks like it will be a tearjerker. It looks like Brendan Fraser is going to be putting on a fantastic performance. I've been really enjoying Brendan Fraser's resurgence in the past few years. Really cool that he's given Hollywood another chance, and he's been giving some amazing, amazing performances. Also on the 21st, Wicked for Good comes out. So the conclusion of John M. Chu's Wicked adaptations of the stage musical, not the novel. There's some things pulled from Gregory Maguire's novel in there. If you listen to last week's episode, Amy and I talked about that a little bit. But I have tickets to see it on the 20th. Whether I actually see it on the 20th, we'll see. I'm supposed to be going on a road trip with my dad and a couple brothers to the Nebraska-Penn State game. So we'll see if that still happens. Weather will play a factor. Nebraska will play a factor because I will be spending more time if we go. I will be spending more time in a car than I will anything else that weekend. So we'll see what happens. And then also on November 21st, a sequel I didn't think was necessarily needed, and I did not expect it at all, but a sequel to Sisu, Sisu Road to Revenge. A great action movie. Lots of good Nazi killing in the original one. This one looks like it's going to be more of the same. Gotta love some good Nazi killing, some good over-the-top, gory action and violence. So, hey, that's your thing. You can check it out on the 21st. And then closing out the month on the 26th, Zootopia 2. If you have kids, chance, go take them to that. And then Wake Up Dead Man, which is the next movie with Benoit Blanc in the Knives Out mystery series from Rian Johnson for Netflix. It has its limited theater premiere on the 26th before it goes to Netflix next month. I think it's December 12th is the Netflix drop. So if you want to see it sooner rather than later, see Daniel Craig's performance, you can check that out in theaters on the 26th. And then finally, What strikes me most in this date is eternity. This movie stars Miles Teller and Elizabeth Olsen. So Miles Teller is someone who dies, and in this uh, world, this universe, when you die, you go to the afterlife. You have the opportunity to choose where you want to spend the rest of your life and who you want to spend it with. So he encounters his dead wife, Elizabeth Olsen, but she is also greeted by her first husband who died at war when they were young. And so she has to choose between her first husband, who she loved, and then it ended far too young, or Miles Teller, her second husband, who she grew old and died with, and they were together for 50 years. It looks like it's got some good humor thrown in there. It's got a lot of emotional beats. I am very intrigued by this movie and excited to check it out. So that's going to do it with what's coming, the highlights of what are coming to theaters and streaming this month. Lots of things to check out and watch. If you have the time, drop in the comments. Just add on, just do new comments. So you commented earlier what I told you to. Now you're going to comment what you're most excited to watch this month, either on streaming or theaters. Let us know. But that's going to do it for this week's episode, and not just because I need to get editing done and get some more stuff done tonight for real life. So, thank you all. Appreciate all your time. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff. Hopefully, you enjoyed it. Hopefully, I was able to keep my mouth breathing to a minimum so it wasn't just absolutely brutal and excruciating to listen to. Thank you all. Love you all. Have a great holiday season. We'll see you next week. Sage is going to join the podcast again as we do a draft of what roles do we want to play in theaters if we automatically get the skills to play said role. So what are our favorite roles that we think would be so much fun to play? Had a lot of fun recording that episode. Check that out next week. And as always, don't forget to go down once more. Later.